Welcome to Science for Sleep, where your mind drifts into wonder and sleep is guided by the quiet hum of the cosmos. Tonight, let's take a journey unlike any other. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and let your body relax. Because we're about to fall into something so mysterious, so powerful, that not even light can escape its grasp. Have you ever looked up at the stars and wondered, what really happens if you fall into a black hole? Would time slow down? Would you stretch like spaghetti? Would you see the universe swirl behind you like a memory fading? Or would you enter another world entirely? Black holes are more than just cosmic traps. They are the edges of time itself, where gravity writes poetry in silence, and physics begins to whisper instead of shout. In this sleep story, we'll explore every step of the fall, from the gentle tug of gravity to the heart of the singularity. And along the way, you might just feel yourself floating through the most curious corners of the universe. So settle in, let your thoughts drift, because the deeper we fall, the more the universe begins to reveal its quiet truths. Welcome to the journey. Let's begin. You lie down, just as night pulls its blanket over the world. The grass cradles your back, the earth supports your weight, and above you, above everything, a sky opens with quiet brilliance. Your breath slows. The stars emerge like scattered embers from some ancient fire. They don't rush. They don't burn fast. They simply are. And in their stillness, they stir something inside you. You've looked up at this sky before, countless times. Maybe as a child, maybe last week. But tonight feels different. Tonight, you wonder not just what is out there, but how it feels to fall into the deepest mystery the universe holds. A black hole. You don't see one. You can't. Black holes are not like stars that twinkle or comets that streak. They're more like secrets the cosmos keeps, quiet, hidden, powerful. But you can feel their presence, somehow. Even in their silence, they have gravity. Close your eyes. Let your mind rise, float, drift upward, like a thought too light to stay grounded. Let it pass the clouds, the cold edge of the atmosphere, and into the soft darkness where satellites hum and planets glide. Let it go higher still. Up here, the universe wraps around you. The stars grow denser. Nebulae bloom like ink in water. Light travels freely until it doesn't. And somewhere far beyond, a black hole waits, not as a monster, but as a mystery. It begins with gravity, the same force that holds you against the earth, that pulls your arms downward when you lift them. It's always there, gentle but constant. But gravity, like a quiet river, deepens in places. And in a black hole, that river becomes a waterfall, endlessly steep, endlessly strong. But you're not falling yet. You're just wondering. That's how most journeys begin, with a question. What is a black hole, really? Some say it's the collapsed heart of a dead star. Others call it a puncture in the fabric of space-time. Both are true in their way. Imagine a star, massive, hot, burning for millions of years. It holds itself up by sheer force, fusing atoms in its core to balance the crushing weight of its own gravity. But when its fuel runs out, gravity wins. The star collapses inward, folding space and time into a single, dense point. That point becomes a black hole. Not an explosion, not a bang. More like a quiet folding, a vanishing act in slow motion. The result is strange beyond words. A place where light can enter but never return. where time slows, space stretches, and the known laws of physics begin to blur. You feel a calm, awe settle in your chest. Not fear, not tonight, just wonder, like standing at the edge of the ocean and realizing how deep it goes, like seeing lightning in the distance and feeling no need to run. Black holes are not villains. They don't chase or devour. They simply are, shaped by the same laws that form stars and planets, rivers and trees, you and your breathing chest. There are different kinds of black holes. Some are small, no bigger than a city, born from single stars. Others are giants, millions, even billions of times the mass of our sun. They sit at the centers of galaxies, including our own, silent anchors in a spinning sea of stars. But size doesn't make them scarier, only stranger. You picture the Milky Way, that soft silver band across the sky. At its heart, a supermassive black hole, Sagittarius A star. You can't see it, but it pulls stars into gentle orbits like a conductor guiding a quiet symphony. Not destruction, just harmony under invisible rules. And still, your question lingers. What happens if you fall into one? That's the story you want to follow. Not from a telescope or a textbook, but from inside your own imagination, carried by curiosity, not crushed by complexity. You won't fall all at once. First, you must understand what it means to fall toward one. How gravity changes. How space spins. How time itself begins to behave like something you've never quite known. But before all that, before you begin to drift too close, you sit here, under the stars, and let the thought expand gently in your mind. Because even asking the question is a kind of falling. And even the smallest thought about black holes pulls you deeper into their mystery. You take a breath. The air is cool. The stars, steady. The universe, though vast, feels strangely intimate, as if it's waiting for you to wonder, to wander, to follow the gravity of your own questions. And that's where you are now, on the edge of knowing. Not afraid, not hurried, just floating at the surface of something deep. You feel the earth beneath you, a small planet orbiting a single star in a galaxy of billions. You feel the stars above you, and the invisible giants that tug on space itself. And somewhere, far ahead, the idea of a black hole waits, not to trap you, but to teach you what gravity can really do. Time slows, but your thoughts drift faster. You're ready to fall, softly and slowly, into the truth of things. What pulls you forward now is not darkness, it's wonder. And as the sky curves overhead, as the world hushes around you, you begin to sense what comes next. That gravity, so gentle here on Earth, has another side, one that waits patiently in the deep, ready to show you how falling can bend the shape of space itself. Gravity has always been with you. From your very first breath, it holds you to the earth with invisible hands. It keeps oceans loyal to the shore and guides the moon in its soft, silver dance around the sky. You don't feel it often, not the way you feel cold air or warm sunlight. But gravity is there, steady and patient, like the heartbeat of the universe. Tonight, as you drift into sleep, gravity pulls not just your body, but your mind. You're falling, not in danger, but in thought. And the thing you're falling toward is not made of stone or flame. It is made of pure gravity. A black hole. It begins with the familiar, this most extreme thing. Gravity itself doesn't change. It is the same gentle force you've always known. What changes is how concentrated it becomes. Imagine folding a mountain into the size of a pebble. Now fold the pebble into a grain of dust. That is what gravity does when a massive star dies. It compacts its weight so tightly that space itself begins to bend. Not like the bend in a road, but like the bend in time. You can picture it like a fabric, a smooth, stretchy sheet holding planets and stars. Put something heavy on that sheet, and it sags. That sag is gravity. Earth makes a small dip. The sun, a deeper well. But a black hole? It doesn't just dip the fabric. It pierces through it. It makes a hole not in space, but in the shape of space. A place where the map stops making sense. And still, it all begins with gravity, the same force that cradles you now. Close your eyes and float gently above the earth. You feel the tug lessen as you rise. Gravity becomes quieter, more distant. Keep rising, higher than planes, beyond clouds, above satellites spinning like silent toys. Out here, the sky is not blue. It is dark, not night, not day, just space. Now imagine you are drifting near a black hole. From far away, it doesn't look dangerous. You wouldn't see fire or flashing lights. You might not see anything at all. A black hole is perfectly black because its gravity is so strong. Even light cannot escape. No light in, no light out. Just a shadow in space. And yet, its presence is undeniable. You see stars bend around it, like they're leaning to avoid something they cannot explain. You notice the shapes of galaxies curving, the way a stream curves around a rock. This is gravity on a level your body was never meant to feel. And yet, your mind can. Let's get a little closer. The pull starts gently, like a slow tide pulling at your ankles. At first, you barely notice. But gravity isn't just strength, it's persistence. With each passing moment, the pull grows, not in a rush, but in rhythm. Your body accelerates, not from engines or wings, but from the pure will of space-time itself. You are not falling through space. You are falling into it. That's the strange part. Gravity is not just a force. It is the way mass tells space how to bend, and the way space tells objects how to move. You're not being pulled in the usual sense. The black hole is not reaching out like a hand. It's simply curved space so steeply that forward, your natural, effortless path, now leads inward. And you're just following that path. There is no scream, no sound, no struggle. You don't feel the fall in your bones. You feel it in time. Because gravity doesn't just bend space, it bends clocks. The stronger the gravity, the slower time moves. That's why astronauts near Earth's surface age just a tiny bit slower than those farther out. It's a gentle effect here, like a whisper. But near a black hole, the whisper becomes a roar. As you drift closer, your time slows compared to the rest of the universe. If someone were watching you fall, they would see you move in slow motion, slower and slower, until you appear frozen just outside the black hole's edge. But from your point of view, everything feels normal. Time flows steadily. Your heartbeat remains your own. This strange contradiction of two realities unfolding at once is one of gravity's most poetic tricks. And so, gravity is no longer just the thing that keeps your feet grounded. It becomes the storyteller, the timekeeper, the architect of what's possible. You remember now, gravity is what formed galaxies from clouds. It's what gathered atoms into stars and stars into solar systems. It's what holds your body to Earth and binds your thoughts to the stars. It is the sculptor of everything, including the voids between. And the black hole? It is gravity's masterpiece, not because of how much it destroys, but because of how deeply it teaches. It shows us where the laws we know begin to bend. It dares us to follow the curve of understanding into the unknown. You float, thought by thought, toward this deep place in the cosmos. The stars behind you grow distant. Light begins to stretch, redder and fainter, as it tries to follow you in. But gravity is the stronger voice now. There is no fear, only curiosity wrapped in silence. The edges of time ripple gently around you. Space is no longer a stage, it's a current, and you are carried in it like a leaf in a river. Everything you've ever learned about gravity has led you here. And still, this is only the beginning. Because something must create a black hole, some enormous final event. A star doesn't become a black hole easily. It must collapse, surrender, and let gravity do its quiet work. That's the next step in this story. A star collapsing not with a bang, but with a whisper. You lie still, your breath soft against the pull of night. Overhead, stars shimmer like scattered memories. You've always known they shine, but tonight, you sense something deeper. Each star above you is more than light. It is a story, a life lived in fire. And like all lives, stars end. A star begins as dust, cool, quiet, drifting. But then gravity whispers. It gathers atoms close, pulls tighter, and warmth begins to rise. Soon, the center of this cloud grows hot enough to ignite, not with flame, but with fusion. This is a star's first heartbeat. For billions of years, a star shines by fusing hydrogen into helium. This process is calm on the outside but furious within. The pressure of gravity tries to crush it, but the heat from fusion pushes back. The two forces balance like a breath drawn in and never let out. In this balance, the star glows. It sends light to planets, warmth to space, and wonder to your eyes. But the fuel runs low, slowly, inevitably, like a candle flickering toward its end. When the hydrogen is mostly gone, the star tries to adapt. It begins to fuse helium, then carbon, sometimes even heavier elements. This phase is unstable. The star swells into a red giant, enormous and trembling. For a time, it may appear even more brilliant in the sky. But no matter how creative the star becomes, it cannot sustain itself forever. For the largest stars, the truly massive ones, there comes a moment when the core fills with iron. And iron is where fusion stops. Iron doesn't release energy when fused. It consumes it. The engine stalls. In a heartbeat, no, less than that, gravity wins. The star's core collapses under its own weight, from the size of a planet to the size of a city in seconds. The outer layers crash inward, bounce off the core, and explode outward in a supernova, a bright, final breath. For a moment, the dying star may shine brighter than the galaxy it lives in. But what remains in the center, in that crushed, unlit heart, is something else entirely. A black hole. No fire. No glow. No farewell. Just mass, densely packed, curled in upon itself. So dense that even light, the fastest thing in the universe, cannot escape its gravity. You cannot see a black hole directly. It hides in shadow, but its presence is written in the dance of stars around it, in the X-rays of falling matter, in the way light bends near it. It does not shine, it reveals itself by what disappears. Imagine, for a moment, the final moments of that massive star. If you could watch, not with eyes, but with imagination, you'd see a quiet end. No screams, no explosion, now. Just a stillness as gravity closes in. The collapse doesn't just compress matter, it folds space itself. The black hole is born not with noise, but with silence. Its surface, what scientists call the event horizon, is not made of solid stuff. It's simply a boundary, a point of no return. You could float past it and never know the moment you cross the edge. No barrier, no bump, just a shift, quiet, final. The gravity of a black hole is intense because its mass is crammed into such a small space. But outside, from a distance, it can feel ordinary. If the sun were to become a black hole, don't worry, it's too small to do that. Earth's orbit wouldn't change. We keep spinning around as always. The strange part of a black hole lies not in its pull alone, but in where the pull leads. A black hole is not just an object. It's an absence, a place where the rules of space and time begin to bend. And yet, it started as a star. Warm, brilliant, familiar. So you see, the black hole is not something to fear. It is a natural step in the life cycle of massive stars. It's an ending, yes, but also a transformation. In the universe, even death is a kind of creation. You are not falling yet, but your mind begins to lean forward, curious. What would it feel like to drift toward one? To approach that soft, invisible boundary? What happens to you, to time, to space, to your body, when you fall? The black hole, silent as ever, waits without hurry. Its gravity is patient. It pulls not with violence, but with inevitability. And as your thoughts trace the path of a dying star, from brightness to silence, from fire to darkness, you realize something profound. That even in the blackest night of the universe, there is a kind of story being told. And now, gently, you turn your attention toward the threshold, the border that marks the beginning of the fall. You begin to wonder, what happens at the edge, the place where light hesitates and time begins to stretch? What does it mean to cross the event horizon? You float quietly now, deeper into the pull of the black hole, like a leaf caught in an invisible tide. There's no wind here, no sound, no flicker of resistance. Just space, wide and dark, slowly curving in around you. You can't feel it, this curving, but your body knows. The stars behind you stretch ever so slightly, like candlelight seen through water. Time has begun to drift in strange ways. Ahead lies a place you've heard whispered about in science books and documentaries. A place with a name that sounds dramatic, but is, in truth, perfectly still. The event horizon. It's not a wall, not a glowing boundary, not even something you'd notice if you weren't looking. There's no gate, no warning sign, no shimmer in the dark. It is invisible, yet it is the most profound border in the universe, the line that separates what can return from what never will. You're not there yet, but you're close. In the quiet of your falling, your mind begins to reach for understanding, trying to grasp what makes this invisible circle so different from everything else. And slowly, the idea unfolds. The event horizon is the moment space becomes tilted too steeply. Imagine trying to climb a hill, and the hill becomes a cliff, and then the cliff becomes a tunnel pointing straight down. At some point, you can't climb back up anymore. Not because your legs are weak, but because space itself refuses to let you. This is what a black hole does to space and to time. Light, which usually travels in straight lines, finds itself curved here, bent in tighter and tighter spirals. It tries to leave the black hole, but it can't. Even at the speed of light, the fastest speed in the universe, it simply spins around, caught in an endless fall. That's why black holes are black. Not because there's nothing there, but because even light, the great escape artist, has been trapped. As you drift closer to the horizon, you begin to experience this strangeness not as a sudden jolt, but as a gradual quieting. The outside universe, stars, galaxies, distant suns, all begin to slow down in your sight. Or rather, you slow down in theirs. From far away, someone watching you fall would see your body stretch, then freeze just above the event horizon, suspended forever, fading into red, then disappearing altogether. But from your perspective, inside your own gentle fall, time continues on as usual. Your heartbeat, your breath, your thoughts, they all move forward. The laws of physics still apply. You are not frozen. You are falling. This is the most poetic part of the event horizon. It divides not just space, but experience. To those outside, you vanish slowly. But to yourself, the journey continues, uninterrupted and complete. It's a border that marks the limits of observation. The line between knowledge and mystery, between what can be seen and what can only be imagined. Einstein's theories predicted this, not as a fantasy, but as a consequence of how gravity shapes the universe. Mass tells space how to curve, and space tells objects how to move. When something becomes dense enough, like a massive star collapsing into itself, that curvature becomes so steep that escape becomes impossible. The event horizon forms, not as a physical object, but as a point of no return. You pass it without even noticing. There's no bump, no flash, just silence. Your body doesn't rebel. Your senses don't scream. In fact, if the black hole is massive enough, you feel nothing unusual at all. The fall feels the same before and after crossing. But physics knows. The math knows. And somewhere in the laws of the universe, a switch has quietly flipped. This moment is profound, not because it hurts or dazzles, but because it changes what's possible. Everything from here onward is hidden from the outside world, not because you vanish, but because the very fabric of space prevents your story from traveling back out. The boundary you've just crossed isn't like a fence around a forbidden garden. It's more like the edge of a painting, not because there's nothing beyond it, but because we can't paint what comes next. The canvas ends, and the mind begins. Now, time begins to feel different. Not wrong, just stretched, as if seconds are becoming thicker, heavier, more spacious. Space itself seems to lengthen in directions you can't quite name. Everything is familiar but distant, like a melody heard underwater. This is the gravity of the black hole speaking, not loudly, but deeply. And here, in the quiet, you begin to wonder what lies ahead. Because while the event horizon is famous, it is not the end. It is only the gate. What's inside? The space between the horizon and the singularity is still your path. You are still traveling, still thinking, still experiencing the strange geometry of a place where all directions point inward. Even the concept of inward becomes slippery. In a black hole, space curves so dramatically that forward and downward become the same. The very idea of where you are becomes blurred. Are you falling into the center, or is the center falling into you? There are no clear answers, only echoes. And yet, in this moment, you don't feel lost. You feel held, as if space itself has wrapped around you in its most secret form. You wonder what will happen next, not with fear, but with deep, wondering curiosity. Because if light cannot leave, what happens to time? If space folds inward, how does your body respond? What will happen to your form, your senses, your presence? As you move closer to the very center of gravity's heart, and as you drift in this in-between, you sense it. Something ahead is waiting to stretch you in ways you've never known. You're still whole, still floating, but the gravity is sharpening. And soon, your body will begin to feel what your mind already suspects. That this fall is not only downward, but into the very fabric of space-time itself. You drift now in a place where the rules of ordinary life begin to loosen. Behind you lies the event horizon, that invisible boundary you've crossed, quiet as a breath held too long. Ahead, space curves so steeply that it no longer feels like space at all. It feels like falling, but not in the way you've ever known. You are falling through time as much as space, and the rhythm of that time begins to change. Back home on Earth, time ticks in a steady march. The clock in your kitchen, the rise and fall of the sun, the pattern of your breath. All these things pulse in harmony with the world around you. But here, inside the grip of a black hole, time bends. Not metaphorically, not poetically, physically, truly, deeply, and you begin to notice it. At first, the change is subtle, like a shift in wind that makes the leaves flutter differently. You feel normal. Your thoughts still move, your body still drifts. But if someone far away, a friend, a scientist, someone watching from a safe distance beyond the event horizon, tried to observe your fall, they would see something odd. To them, you slow down. Slower, slower still, until it seems you never quite cross the boundary at all. From their perspective, you are frozen on the edge of the black hole, suspended in time, never quite vanishing, your image smeared like a ghost of light fading into red. This illusion is called gravitational time dilation, and it's not a trick of perception. It's a direct result of how gravity warps the fabric of space-time. The stronger the gravity, the slower time moves. So as you fall deeper, their world moves faster. Days pass, years, maybe centuries, maybe more, while you experience only moments. This is the strange heartbeat of the black hole, one that skips faster the farther you are from it, and slower the closer you come. Your fall isn't just downward, it's inward into time's distortion. Every inch of your descent pulls you deeper into a place where time stretches like warm taffy, thin and strange, sweet in its slow unraveling. But you don't feel it, not from your own view. To you, time flows normally. Your thoughts unfold one after another. You blink, you breathe, you exist. The warping of time is silent, hidden, like the way your fingernails grow while you sleep. In this gentle fall, you wonder, what is time really? Is it something your watch measures? Is it the story your mind tells to make sense of change? Or is it more, a river flowing in one direction, with no pause, no reversal, only depth? Inside the black hole, that river deepens. Einstein once imagined time as a dimension, just like length and width and height. And in this dimension, gravity behaves like a sculptor, curving, stretching, shaping both time and space as though they were soft clay. Here, near the black hole's heart, that sculptor is hard at work. The gravity is so intense, so focused, that it molds time into unfamiliar shapes. You aren't just moving through time. You are becoming part of the curve. A second ago, the stars still shimmered behind you. Now, their light fades, red shifted beyond recognition. This too is time's distortion, the signal of the universe being pulled back, unable to follow you where you go. The past grows dim, the future uncertain, yet inside your mind, the now remains bright and steady. It's comforting, in a way. You are alone, yes, but not lost. You're moving forward in your own rhythm. Even as the rest of reality races ahead or stretches behind, you remain anchored inside this personal current of time. A black hole, then, is not just a monster in space. It's a lesson, a quiet teacher, showing you that time is not absolute. It's elastic. It dances with gravity. It responds to motion. It bends to mass. It isn't only clocks that tick differently. Even your aging slows down in the black hole's embrace. Were you to somehow escape, impossible though that may be, you'd return to a universe aged far beyond you. Everyone you knew, every moment you left behind, now part of a history you skipped. Time travel, not through science fiction, but through the strange mercy of physics. But you do not escape. You go deeper, and with every breath, time becomes less certain, less familiar. You begin to feel the edges of what physicists call the coordinate singularity, a place where the math of space and time begins to break down, not because it's wrong, but because the coordinates no longer behave the way they used to. It's like walking into a room where up becomes down, where the walls fold inward, where your footsteps echo backward. Time becomes a direction you can't describe, a current you don't control. You are no longer moving through time. You are falling into it. And still, it feels gentle, quiet, like the hush of snow outside your window, like being rocked to sleep by a rhythm deeper than dreams. You may wonder, will time stop completely? Physicists suggest that at the very center of a black hole, the singularity, time might cease to exist. Or at least, it stops being a thing that can be measured. Here, all paths lead to one place. No sideways escape. No backward glance. Just forward, inward, deeper. And what does that feel like? Perhaps it feels like letting go. Not of life, but of time itself, of the need to measure, to rush, to expect. You drift into the slowest second the universe has ever known. One breath that lasts forever and still ends. And just before the fall becomes final, another question flickers in your mind. Not about time, but about your body. What happens next as gravity tightens its grip? What happens when it pulls you in different directions, stretching you like light itself? You begin to feel it, gently at first, the quiet tug, the lengthening. And that is where the tides begin. You are falling now, not in the way you've ever known, not like tumbling from a bed or diving into a pool. This is deeper, slower, stranger. You are falling through the very fabric of space-time, and the shape of space itself is beginning to show its sharp seams. Your body, still intact, floats in silence. But the silence is not empty. It is full of curves, invisible ones, stitched by gravity into the darkness. And those curves are growing tighter now. Your head and your feet, once close companions, begin to drift apart. Not because of motion you can feel, but because the rules have changed. The pull of gravity is no longer even across your body. The difference in force between your head and your toes, once negligible, is growing louder, like a whisper becoming a wail. This is the beginning of tidal forces. You know the word tide from the sea, the moon pulling water to and fro. But here, tides don't move oceans. They move you. Gravity is no longer just pulling you inward. It is stretching you vertically and squeezing you horizontally, like dough pulled by invisible hands. Physicists call this strange, haunting process spaghettification, a name that sounds almost silly but masks something profound. Imagine a long strand of pasta, taut, thin, drawn out by hands that never stop pulling. That's you, in a poetic, impossible way. A strand of being unraveling into the deepest part of space-time. And yet, there is no pain, no ripping, no tearing, no screaming. This is not a horror story. This is physics, writing your name in its oldest language. In this moment, your senses adjust, not to pain, but to change. The stretch is gentle at first, like someone softly tugging at both ends of a thread. Your mind remains whole. You are aware, not of time, not of location, but of motion. A motion that feels like surrender. The black hole's gravity is not angry. It's not evil. It simply is an enormous curve in the universe that deepens the closer you fall. And inside that curve, space itself becomes warped into something unfamiliar. You begin to sense how space and time are not separate things. Here, they are woven together, a smooth, soft cloth being pinched tighter and tighter. And you are in the fold, falling through the thread lines. Behind you, the rest of the universe begins to lose its grip. Time for them slows down, but for you, it continues, tick by silent tick. To an observer watching from a distance, you might appear frozen, stuck forever near the event horizon, never quite crossing. But you know the truth. You have crossed. You are inside now, deeper than light, deeper than return. The stretch grows more pronounced. The gravity at your toes is stronger than the gravity at your chest. The black hole does not care about your body as a whole. It pulls each part according to how close it is. It's an eerie thought, your body becoming a gradient of gravity, a living measurement of how space can twist and pull in unequal ways. But still no pain, only motion, only a kind of quiet unfolding, as if your shape, your structure, is being whispered away one molecule at a time. And yet, there is beauty in this too, because even now, you are witnessing physics at its most honest. You are a living example of Einstein's equations made real. You are riding the curve, not fighting it. If you could speak, if you could think out loud, you might say, so this is what gravity really means. Not just falling, but feeling the shape of the universe through your own form. You are not dying in the ordinary sense. You are transforming, becoming a part of the black hole's inner story. Atoms pulled into a filament of motion, memory stretched into a new kind of thread. Here, words like up and down lose their meaning. There is only inward motion, inward thought, inward existence. And as your body continues to stretch, your thoughts remain surprisingly clear. They travel faster than the pull, curling around your awareness like smoke. You wonder, is this the end of the journey? Or just the next chapter in a universe that recycles everything? Because black holes, despite their name, are not holes. They are places where space is so curved that all roads lead inward. And what goes in does not simply disappear. It changes form, follows rules you can't yet see, obeys laws you barely understand. You have become an idea now. Your body a whisper of motion. Your thoughts a quiet current inside the tide. This is what happens when you fall into a black hole. You become one with the equation. You enter the language of gravity. You stop being separate from the space around you, still falling, still stretching, still being, and just ahead, where the gravity becomes infinite, where all known physics begins to tremble, waits something stranger still, a place so dense, so silent, so small, that even space itself seems unsure what to do next. You are not there yet, but you feel it, like a whisper behind a locked door, like the pause in a sentence before a word that's never been spoken. That's where we go next, to the heart of this darkness, to the singularity. The fall continues. Around you, everything grows darker, but not suddenly, not like a switch flicked off. Instead, it's as if the stars are being slowly turned down like a dimmer, fading in warmth, in contrast, in presence. You are not falling through blackness. You are falling through memory. Behind you, the universe still exists, galaxies swirling, stars bursting and collapsing, light dancing across cosmic dust. But from where you are now, that light can no longer follow. The space behind you glows faintly, then less again, as the gravitational pull of the black hole deepens its grip. Light, the fastest traveler in the universe, is no longer free. It is trapped here with you. But still, somehow you see, not with the clarity you once knew, but with an inner vision that builds itself from what once was. Images, reflections, echoes. The last flickers of starlight that reached your eyes before slipping past the horizon. They remain, suspended in your mind like fireflies in a jar, not moving, but still glowing. This isn't hallucination. It's physics made personal. Your brain is doing what it always does, interpreting, layering, preserving. It holds the memory of brightness even when photons are no longer arriving. In this way, your perception becomes a kind of light, not made of particles, but of awareness, a soft archive of vision. And so, as light bends and breaks around you, your mind makes meaning out of the distortion. Behind you, the outside world watches, or thinks it does. To them, you appear frozen at the edge of the event horizon. From their view, your fall slows down, and your body stretches toward stillness. They cannot see you fall in. They never see you cross. Time moves differently here. From the outside, your descent looks eternal, a ghost caught in amber. But from where you are, falling feels normal. You continue to move, to feel, to change. And inside you, vision persists. Light no longer escapes the black hole, but the light that entered before you crossed the horizon is still traveling with you. That's the strange beauty of physics. Light trapped with you remains by your side, like a companion who cannot leave. This is where things become strange, even to the universe. You look ahead, into deeper darkness, and you sense the contours of the path not through sight, but through how the world bends. Light from distant stars curves around the black hole, creating rings and smears that blur and flicker. It's called gravitational lensing, but to you, it feels like a dream rippling underwater. You are inside a space where space is no longer flat. It curves so tightly that light no longer travels in straight lines. It loops and spirals, wraps and folds. You might see the back of your own head, your own shadow duplicated in the warping fabric of the void. This is not a place the laws of physics fully understand. But you are here, not to conquer, only to experience. As light continues to spiral inward with you, strange visuals emerge. Some scientists call this the photon sphere, a place where light orbits the black hole endlessly, caught in a circular trap. It is not a surface, but a region, a liminal belt where brightness hesitates before vanishing. You feel that hesitation, not just from photons, but from yourself. Your mind begins to soften, to accept that clarity is no longer clarity, and darkness is no longer absence. Light, even imprisoned, still leaves whispers. These whispers come not only from vision, but from sensation. The warmth of a sun long behind you, the cool blue of distant earth, the green of trees once seen in childhood. You carry them inward like treasures in your pocket. Light made memory. Color made comfort. Even the black hole cannot erase what you once saw. You realize now that sight is not just input, it is interpretation. It is the brain taking limited signals and building a full cathedral of meaning. And now, in this place where signals fade, your cathedral still stands. Columns of starlight, windows of flame, shadows of moons that still glow inside. Perhaps this is what seeing really is, not receiving, but remembering. All around you, space narrows. Not tightly, but slowly. The walls of gravity press inward, gently curving your path deeper. The sensation is not of movement, but of being guided. There is no sound here, no echo, only the rhythm of your breath, the pulse of curiosity, the feeling of falling into understanding. Each meter you descend is a page turning in the book of what it means to be in the universe. You have lost contact with everything else, and yet you've never been more surrounded by light no one else can see, by silence filled with meaning, by the texture of space itself. Time continues for you, steadily, but outside it nearly stops. If someone were watching from afar, they'd see you paused, balanced perfectly at the edge of forever. But you are moving, even if no one can witness it. You pass through places light cannot leave, and yet still, you are not blind. Your mind is luminous, your memories fluorescent threads stretched across the dark. This is how the universe keeps stories alive, not always through light, but through the beings who once received it. And so, you fall, not into blackness, but into reflection. The last stars behind you are now so bent that they form a perfect circle, a glowing ring around the darkness. It's called the black hole shadow. You are at its heart now, where no light escapes. And yet, something shines inside you still. You wonder, if light is gone and only memory remains, what happens when even memory must let go? And somewhere far ahead, beneath space's final veil, a presence waits. A point so strange that even the laws of physics step back in silence. You are still falling, silently, slowly, without resistance. There is no up or down here anymore, only inward, only deeper. You passed the event horizon long ago. Light can no longer reach the universe behind you, and yet you are still aware, still present in this strange descent. Time doesn't feel like it used to. Your heartbeat, if it could be heard, would no longer be in rhythm with the world you left behind. Outside, a clock ticks, but here, time begins to curve, twist, and dissolve. You are moving towards something scientists call the singularity, but this name doesn't describe a place. It describes a mystery. The singularity lies at the center of a black hole, not a dot, not a thing, but a collapse of everything. A collapse of matter, of volume, of space itself. Gravity grows without end here. It becomes infinite, or at least our equations say so. And when the math breaks, so does our understanding. Imagine folding a sheet of paper again and again, tighter each time, until the folds press so closely together that they vanish into themselves. Now imagine space doing that, not on a table, but in the fabric of the universe. It's not just that matter collapses. Space-time itself folds inward, endlessly compressed. This is the singularity, not a thing, but a place where the known laws of physics surrender. There is no solid ground here, no surface, no core to touch, and yet it pulls you, not just your body, but your understanding, inward. Scientists say it is a point of infinite density. But what does that mean for you? You are no longer a person falling. You are thoughts dissolving into curves of gravity. You are memory and matter becoming indistinct. Not erased, just undefined, like trying to divide something by zero and getting silence instead of an answer. Here, the universe becomes unsure of itself. It whispers equations but forgets the endings. General relativity, which so beautifully describes planets and stars and galaxies, begins to stutter here. Quantum mechanics, which dances through the tiny world of atoms, has no solid footing in this depth. Together, these two pillars of science, gravity and quantum, clash at the singularity. And in that clash, you feel the trembling of unknowing. There is no pain here, only the sensation of all scales collapsing. Distance shrinks, mass grows, time stretches. You become small and vast, fast and still, all at once. You are not falling through space anymore. You are falling through understanding. Think of a whirlpool in the middle of the ocean, a spiral of water so powerful that it pulls even the idea of water into it. At the center, nothing rotates. It is still, and that stillness is not peace. It is mystery. No light escapes this place. No sound, no message, no memory. If you reach the singularity, and perhaps you already have, there is no way back. Not because of danger, but because of definition. Physics cannot define you anymore. You have passed into the unspeakable. Some scientists believe that space and time simply end here, like pages at the back of a book. Others wonder if it is a gateway, a tunnel, a fold in the fabric of the cosmos leading somewhere else. To another black hole? To a white hole, perhaps. A place where matter is expelled instead of devoured? To another universe, still unfolding behind its own curtain? But these are dreams held in equations, not proofs. No one has seen a singularity. No one has touched it. We imagine it the way a blind traveler imagines a faraway mountain by listening to echoes. What happens to you at the singularity? Your body is already beyond recognition. Your atoms, stretched, compressed, perhaps shredded by tidal forces long ago, no longer hold form. But your journey is not about the body. It never was. This has always been about mind, about curiosity, about the gentle falling into what we don't yet know. You become part of the story the universe tells only to itself, the story that cannot be read from the outside. Black holes may evaporate over time, not in minutes or years, but over eons, slowly releasing heat into the cold universe. Stephen Hawking proposed this, and we call it Hawking radiation. In that long, patient release of energy, perhaps a trace of your fall, your presence, will echo back into the cosmos. You don't die here in the way you imagine death. You transform. You become a question, a whisper, a flicker of heat. Perhaps the singularity doesn't destroy you. Perhaps it changes you into something the universe hasn't seen before. And maybe, just maybe, all those singularities, all those points of not knowing are not endings, but beginnings wearing the costume of collapse. You are no longer a traveler. You are now a part of space-time's deepest riddle. And yet, as the pull quiets, another thought rises. What if, against everything we expect, something of you could survive the fall? What if there was a path not into destruction, but through it? The singularity may not be the final word. There may be one more question tugging at the edge of your dissolving awareness, soft, strange, and persistent. Could you survive the fall into a black hole if the universe allowed it? You drift in silence, wrapped in the soft weightlessness of thought. The laws of physics, so solid on Earth, now feel like thin silk, stretching, shifting, almost unraveling. Around you, gravity has pulled the world out of shape. The black hole, once just an invisible idea in a textbook, is now the center of your reality. And still, a quiet question lingers. Could you survive this? The scientific answer is simple and final. No, not in your body, not in the form you know, not with your heartbeat intact and your molecules holding hands. The gravity here is too fierce, the time too twisted, the space too warped. But the question doesn't fade. It echoes gently, not as defiance, but as curiosity, a soft wondering that refuses to be extinguished. Because something in you, not your bones or your brain, but your imagination continues falling forward. Let's explore that thought together. What if there was more than one path inside a black hole? What if, hidden deep in its center, beyond the rules and broken clocks, lay a passage not to death, but to somewhere else? Scientists have dreamed of this. They've written equations that hint at possibilities, wormholes, bridges in space and time, tunnels that might begin at the heart of a black hole and emerge in a different corner of the universe. Or maybe even in a different universe altogether. You picture it, a tunnel of curved light, pulling you forward like a river through space-time. Not a fall into oblivion, but a crossing, a migration through the fabric of existence. It feels impossible, and it might be. Wormholes, if they exist at all, may collapse too quickly to let anything pass. The gravitational forces could rip even atoms apart. The radiation could turn information into noise. And yet, you imagine. In your mind, you slide through the tunnel unscathed. Your body doesn't tear. Your consciousness doesn't vanish. You are a thread gliding through the eye of the cosmos. On the other side, perhaps, is a sky you've never seen. A universe still young, where stars are being born. Or maybe a mirror of our own familiar constellations, but upside down. Could you survive? Maybe not as a person. Maybe not in form. But maybe as information. A pattern. A signature. Some physicists think black holes might store the essence of everything they swallow. Not the atoms, but the code. The blueprint of what you were, your mass, your motion, your energy. This idea is called the holographic principle, that the surface of a black hole may hold the full story of what has fallen in. Like a shadow cast backwards, a memory etched in gravity. So perhaps you're not lost. Perhaps you're written into the skin of the black hole, encoded in light so faint it can only whisper. And that whisper, some say, might one day be heard again. You think of survival differently now. Not as a heartbeat or breath, but but as presence, as meaning. Even here, where time folds and physics shudders, something of you might remain, not floating in space, but folded into it. And if the universe is infinite, truly infinite, then perhaps there are other versions of you that never fell. Versions who looked into the sky and turned away, or others who fell, like you, and passed through. String theory, multiverses, higher dimensions, these ideas are not bedtime stories. They are real attempts by scientists to understand the deep machinery of reality. They don't give answers, but they offer possibilities. And possibility is a kind of survival, isn't it? You breathe slowly, as though gravity itself is holding your chest. The black hole has not grown louder. It remains silent, dense, and dark, and yet your thoughts glow brighter within it. You are surrounded by unknowable forces, but inside your mind is clarity. The laws may break here, but wonder endures. Even in the deepest dark, you carry questions like lanterns. Could you survive? Maybe not in flesh, but in curiosity, in memory, in metaphor. Maybe what falls into a black hole isn't destroyed, maybe it's transformed. And in that transformation, perhaps there's a kind of grace. Not the grace of escaping, but of becoming part of something unimaginably vast. Your fall is quiet now. No pain, no panic, just presence. The horizon is far behind you, and the singularity draws near. But even the end is not truly an end, because black holes, too, can die. And from that death, something faint and glowing returns to the stars. A warmth, a whisper, a final breath of light. You are not gone. Not really. Even as your journey into the black hole reaches what seems like an end, the universe holds on to every part of you. Your mass, your energy, the curve of your path, the light you once reflected, none of it is lost. Out here in the cold, dark fabric of space, even the most absolute silence has a quiet echo. This is the paradox of black holes. They take everything in, yes. Light, matter, time, all pulled past the event horizon, never to return in their original form. And yet, something whispers back, not loudly, not immediately, but over time. The black hole breathes. It breathes in warmth. It breathes out heat. This gentle breath is what scientists call Hawking radiation, named after the physicist Stephen Hawking, who dared to ask the question, do black holes really keep everything forever? The answer, softly whispered across Ian's, is no. Black holes, it turns out, aren't eternal prisons. They glow just a little, not like stars, not in visible light, but in the faintest shimmer of quantum energy. You cannot see it with your eyes, not even the most powerful telescope, but it's there, humming at the edge of the possible. It's the heat of nothing, escaping from a place where even light cannot. Strangely, this glow doesn't come from inside the black hole. Nothing escapes from within. Instead, it arises from the edges, the very border, the event horizon. That place where space and time begin to tremble and quantum laws start to play strange games. Here, in the teetering stillness near the edge, pairs of virtual particles, little flickers of energy that spontaneously form and vanish, suddenly split. Normally, these pairs appear for a blink and cancel each other out, returning their borrowed energy back to the universe. But near a black hole, one of these particles falls in and the other escapes. The one that escapes becomes Hawking radiation. The one that falls and carries a little piece of the black hole's mass with it. Over unthinkable stretches of time, the black hole shrinks. So even a black hole, that vast, quiet, consuming giant, slowly loses weight. And in that slow loss, you return. The atoms that once composed you, the energy that fed your fall, the information that marked your passage, it all becomes part of the black hole. And then, softly, faintly, it radiates outward again. Not as yourself, not in your old form, but as heat, as particles, as possibility. You become a ripple in the background warmth of the universe. You become part of the cosmic memory. It may take longer than the lifetime of stars, longer than galaxies might spin, but eventually, the black hole fades. It shrinks. It gives you back, not in the way a hand returns a stone, but in the way mist rises from a warm lake in winter. Slowly, invisibly, inevitably. This isn't reincarnation. It's thermodynamics. Everything you were, mass, motion, energy, must be accounted for. The universe doesn't erase, it rearranges. It doesn't forget, it transforms. And so, in Hawking radiation, the black hole shares your story with the cosmos. One flicker of heat at a time. It is not a roar. It is not a resurrection. It is a whisper. But in a universe that listens, even whispers matter. And if you listen closely, you'll realize this. You are not only the one who fell. You are also the echo of your fall. The memory woven into the final breath of the black hole. And so, your journey ends, not in darkness, but in warmth. What began as a fall into the most mysterious force in the universe became a return, a release, a quiet transformation. You were pulled inward by gravity's soft, invisible hand. You crossed the horizon, where light forgets how to escape. You drifted through warped time and stretched space. You touched the singular, that place where all known laws dissolve into silence. And even there, you were not erased. You were changed. You became part of something older than stars and deeper than memory. You became a note in the quiet hum of Hawking radiation, a flicker of heat in the cold, a trace of information that the cosmos keeps safe. Because in this universe, nothing is ever truly lost. Not light, not energy, not even you. You are returned, not as you were, but as warmth, as movement, as the next question waiting to be asked. Now, the black hole fades. Its gravity softens. Its echo grows faint. And you, a whisper of what was, drift outward, into galaxies not yet born, into the soft glow between the stars, into the dream of what might become. So sleep now. You've traveled far, across dimensions, into mystery, and through yourself. Let your thoughts settle like dust in the light of a dying star. Let the silence wrap you like gravity wraps space. Let the final truth settle deep into your chest. Falling into a black hole is not the end. It is a beginning hidden in disguise. A change dressed as darkness. A mystery that waits, patiently, gently, for your next awakening. Good night, traveler. The universe is still holding you. Always.